They didn't honor Monica's legacy. They torched it with a fake sister, a forged will, and a storyline that makes even Tracy Quartermain want to move out. It takes a special kind of soap opera genius to merge One Life to Live nostalgia with General Hospital absurdity, but somehow the writers have galloped straight into that chaos. And yes, the horse is wearing a cowboy hat. The episode's wink to OLTL fans didn't go unnoticed. Ronnie's comment about her fondness for cowboys was practically a neon sign flashing Vicky Buchanan tribute. After all, Erica Slezak's Vicky was married to rancher Clint Buchanan 3 times. Clearly, the woman had a type, and apparently so does Ronnie. Whether this was just a sly nod for longtime fans or a veiled hint at something deeper, say, a potential alter ego or phase-on-style programming, the line was either brilliant fan service or a clue the writers might not know what to do with yet. Of course, speculation runs wild. Is Ronnie Vicky? Is she one of Martin's ex-wives? A long-lost Quartermain cousin? A fever dream brought on by too much herbal tea? Take your pick. But one thing's clear. Ronnie is shaking things up, even if her introduction feels like it came with a fake wig, a mysterious will, and a questionable accent. Meanwhile, Tracy Quartermain continues to deliver comedy gold. Watching Jane Elliott stomp through scenes like a woman personally wronged by the universe never gets old. Her being booted from Ronnie's house was pure soap irony, and her staying with Lulu only adds insult to injury. Apparently, every hotel in Port Charles is fully booked, except the Metro Court. Still, Tracy scheming with Lulu to untangle Martin and Drew's mess promises the kind of sharp, soapy payoff the show desperately needs. Not that anyone's logic is intact here. The entire family siding with a stranger over Tracy? That's not drama, that's mass amnesia. Even Brooklyn and Olivia seem to relish Tracy's humiliation, and Elizabeth's smug amusement didn't help. It's as if the writers forgot these people were once capable of empathy, or at least basic family loyalty. And then there's Martin Gray, the walking definition of suspiciously polite. The theory that he drugged Ronnie's tea might sound absurd, but this is Port Charles. If someone's beverage isn't tampered with by midweek, is it even General Hospital? His reaction to Ronnie's arrival screamed guilt, and his California connection ties everything back to his own murky past. Meanwhile, Valentine's return adds some welcome charisma to the chaos. His partnership with Carly promises delicious tension and possibly the only storyline currently making sense. Valentine exposing Brennan's shady dealings and Jocelyn's recruitment into the WSB was the perfect reminder that not all villains are created equal. The irony, of course, is that amid all this scheming, swapping, and seducing, the real tragedy is what's been done to Monica's legacy. Introducing a new sister out of nowhere and rewriting the Quartermain estate feels less like bold storytelling and more like creative vandalism. Even Tracy's signature "ha" can't fix that. In the end, this episode is a cocktail of nostalgia, nonsense, and top-tier acting. Erica Slezak and Jane Elliott trading scenes is nothing short of soap opera Olympics. It's messy, melodramatic, and borderline ridiculous, but honestly, that's General Hospital at its most entertaining. They've spent months convincing you Michael's the problem, but what if the real shooter was sleeping right beside him? The world of General Hospital thrives on secrets, betrayals, and the occasional ill-timed gunshot, and this theory delivers all 3 in spectacular fashion. The premise? Willow, saintly nurse turned suburban schemer, shot Drew, not out of confusion or some fleeting psychotic break, but out of cold, rational self-interest, wrapped in a deceptively soft smile. At the time of Drew's shooting, Willow's resentment toward him was barely concealed beneath her practiced serenity. He had lied to her, disappointed her, and, worst of all, threatened the illusion of control she clings to. Yet she also needed him, believing he could reunite her with her children. So, in classic soap logic, she devised a plan that would solve all her problems: kill Drew and frame Michael. Drew would be gone, Michael would be conveniently incarcerated, and Willow would emerge tear-streaked but victorious, with her children safely in her arms. The plan, of course, failed. Drew survived, and Michael, ever the polished Corinthos golden boy, realized something was very wrong. He knew Willow was there that night, knew she had a motive, and eventually discovered that the gun had been tampered with. The theory suggests that Willow, adept at avoiding the Quartermain cameras, thanks to her earlier escapades with the ever-watchful Daisy, eventually succeeded in planting the gun to implicate Michael. But Michael, catching on, turned the tables. He found the weapon, recognized the setup, and, showing that the Corinthos apple doesn't fall far from the morally gray tree, planted the gun on Willow instead. This maneuver, equal parts poetic and petty, fits Michael perfectly. When Sonny pressed him about taking the case seriously, Michael's unnerving calm said it all. He knew the bullet wasn't his. His icy composure, his faith in Detective Ronnie, and his quiet satisfaction when the warrant was botched, all signs of a man who has already outplayed everyone in the room. Even his deflection to Dante, "If you say I'm framing her, you're accusing me of shooting Drew," reeks of carefully rehearsed half-truth. The beauty of this theory lies not just in its plausibility, but in its character logic. If Michael were the shooter, Drew wouldn't have survived. The man has inherited enough of Sonny's ruthlessness to finish a job properly. And yet, if Willow were the shooter, the sloppy execution and lack of killer instinct make perfect sense. She's clever enough to sneak past cameras, but not enough to land a fatal shot. Her competence always peaks at almost. Then there's the supporting cast of wildcards: Alexis, Isaiah, even Danny, each floated as possible culprits. But none fit quite as elegantly as Willow. Alexis's supposed motive collapses under scrutiny. Isaiah's height literally makes the shot impossible, and Danny's involvement feels like a desperate twist no writer would dare unless they're aiming for a collective audience revolt. This scenario also fits the show's favorite pastime: moral decay through motherhood. Willow, the woman once painted as the heart of Port Charles, now reduced to framing her husband while pretending to meditate on forgiveness. The writers have toyed with her saintly image long enough. A heel turn would finally make her interesting again. Of course, the real sting here is that both Willow and Michael deserve each other. She's a self-righteous manipulator dressed in beige, and he's an entitled, cold-blooded heir whose moral compass points directly to self-preservation. The shooting didn't create monsters, it merely revealed them. If this theory plays out on screen, it would mark a long overdue return to the deliciously dark storytelling General Hospital used to master. And if Willow really did pull the trigger, well, for once, the audience might actually root for her. After all, nothing says redemption quite like surviving your own bad choices with a smirk and a storyline. Everyone calls Dante the good cop of Port Charles, but what if he's actually the coldest villain of them all? Dante Falconeri has always presented himself as the moral compass of General Hospital, the steadfast cop, the noble son, the man who worships at the altar of law and order. But lately, that compass seems to be pointing in one direction only, towards self-righteous betrayal. The question isn't why Dante would turn his back on his brother, it's why he's so eager to do it. For all his supposed integrity, Dante's brand of justice has always been strangely selective. He preaches fairness while conveniently overlooking his father's crimes. He'll chase down his brother Michael for breathing near a crime scene, but when it comes to Sonny Corinthos, the mob boss who's practically the poster child for felonies, Dante suddenly remembers the virtue of restraint. It's a curious moral hierarchy. Mob kingpins get forgiveness, but adoptive brothers get interrogations. This isn't the first time Dante's loyalty to justice outweighed loyalty to family. Years ago, he pressured Michael to confess, a decision that led to Michael's imprisonment and assault. Dante expressed regret, of course, but never enough to learn from it. Now, history repeats itself. With Drew shot and a mystery afloat, Dante once again chooses to play executioner, this time driven by his misplaced trust in Chase and his bizarre defense of Willow, a woman whose halo has long since tarnished. And let's talk about Willow. Once written as a soft-spoken teacher with a tragic past, she's devolved into a walking contradiction, a nurse who somehow can't recognize toxic behavior, a mother whose every sacrifice seems to revolve around her own ego. Between cheating on her husband and parading her instability through town in a wedding dress, Willow's maternal instincts appear to have gone the way of Drew's personality, missing and presumed dead. The irony is rich. Willow's treated like a saint, while Michael, for once, is painted as the villain. Yet Michael's sins, when stacked beside hers, almost seem quaint. Yes, he slept with Sasha. Yes, he's been manipulative. But this is Port Charles, where manipulation is basically a family tradition. The man's biggest crime appears to be trying to survive the emotional chaos of his adulterous wife and sanctimonious brother. The audience can be forgiven for siding with him. After all, he's the only one still showing glimmers of empathy and pain rather than moral superiority and smug detachment. As for Drew, his transformation from stoic Navy SEAL to whining politician has been one of the show's great character assassinations. Once a man of honor, now a man of hypocrisy, Drew has become both tedious and insufferable, a figure so unlikable that the mystery of his shooting inspires more relief than suspense. If anything, the shooter's only mistake was poor aim. Meanwhile, Chase has been reduced to a lovesick fool, orbiting Willow like she's the last woman on Earth. The same detective who once displayed insight and sensitivity is now a willing pawn in a storyline that makes everyone involved look dumber by the episode. Dante and Lulu, ever the sanctimonious duo, continue to moralize from their high horse, ignoring the mountain of hypocrisy beneath them. Lulu's decision to write a hit piece on her own cousin only cements what we already know. In this family, blood isn't thicker than self-righteousness. At its core, this entire arc exposes the writer's fondness for moral whiplash. Characters are contorted to fit plot lines that defy logic. Loyalty is treated as a punchline, and the audience is expected to applaud the spectacle. The Who Shot Drew mystery isn't gripping, it's filler. A transparent attempt to manufacture tension in a storyline gasping for air. In the end, Dante's greatest flaw isn't his devotion to the law. It's his inability to recognize when his crusade turns cruel. A man who once fought for justice now confuses judgment for virtue, and in doing so, betrays the very humanity that made him compelling in the first place. If Dante truly wants to be the noble hero he imagines himself to be, he might start by remembering that loyalty isn't about turning in your brother. It's about standing by him when the world, and the writing, decide to make him the villain. They'll tell you Alexis Davis is morally gray. Let's be honest, she's just morally gone. There was a time when Alexis Davis embodied complexity, the sharp-tongued, self-sabotaging, whip-smart Cassadine, whose chaos was tempered by intelligence and heart. Now, she's a walking contradiction in designer guilt, swinging between courtroom brilliance and basement felony. The latest offense, literally locking her ex-husband Rick Lansing in her basement, is less Cassadine intrigue and more midlife meltdown with a body count. Her decision to capitulate to Drew's manipulations, abandoning both moral principle and her own son Danny in the process, cemented a troubling truth. Alexis has crossed from flawed heroine to farce. For years, her obsessive devotion to family has excused her endless lapses in judgment. But this latest chapter isn't maternal, it's madness. Her brand of overprotection has metastasized into betrayal. Molly was the first casualty. Now Danny joins the list. Alexis' defenders argue that her Cassadine bloodline makes her unpredictability inevitable. True enough, she's the daughter of Mikos Cassadine, and moral compromise is practically hereditary. Yet, unpredictable used to mean spirited, witty, occasionally unhinged. Now it means ethically unrecognizable. When she's not aiding and abetting crimes, she's emotionally enabling her perpetually adolescent daughter Christina, whose apron strings should have been cut a decade ago. The woman is in her 30s, yet Alexis hovers as if parenting were an Olympic event. And Rick. Let's talk about Rick. The same man who once imprisoned a pregnant Carly in a panic room, drugged his wife to prevent pregnancy, and plotted to raise another woman's child as his own. It's poetic justice that he's now the one tied up. Yet Alexis's moral outrage rings hollow when she married him after those atrocities. Her outrage feels performative, her hypocrisy exhausting. It's not retribution, it's regression. But the tragedy isn't that Alexis has done terrible things. She's always done terrible things. It's that the show no longer seems to understand why. Once, her impulsivity and panic were grounded in trauma, abuse, abandonment, a fractured sense of control. Now, she's written as if none of that history exists. Her actions don't reflect evolution or even self-awareness. They're just arbitrary twists dictated by the week's plotline. This is not a destruction that happened overnight. Her decline began the moment the writers decided that alcoholism was a character arc rather than a symptom. Once a brilliant attorney, Alexis became an editorial punchline, a woman with no law license, no stability, and no discernible boundaries. Her relationship with Diane, her daughters, even her clients, all undermined by inconsistency and compromise. The supposed ethical lawyer has spent years forging documents, covering crimes, and rationalizing every betrayal as family loyalty. Yet despite it all, Nancy Lee Grant's performance remains magnetic. Her intelligence leaks through even the dumbest material, elevating Alexis from disgrace to tragic fascination. Few actors could make a character this inconsistent still watchable. But charisma cannot mask creative negligence. When every decision Alexis makes contradicts the last, when no lesson ever sticks, the audience stops caring. The greatest irony? The writer's refusal to give Alexis what she's always sought, control, has stripped her of something more important, credibility. She's no longer a character with contradictions, she's a contradiction with dialogue. Still, there's one potential redemption: truth. The inevitable fallout when Molly discovers what her mother has done could finally confront years of moral slippage. If handled with actual depth, Alexis might reclaim some humanity. But if the show continues to paper over her choices, she'll remain what she's been reduced to, a soap archetype of squandered brilliance. Alexis Davis was once chaos with conscience. Now, she's just chaos on cue. Recasting Ned Quartermaine won't save General Hospital. Remembering why he mattered in the first place might. The question of whether to recast Ned Quartermaine is less about casting and more about commitment. Commitment from the show's powers that be, who seem to have misplaced one of their own legacy characters somewhere between Tracy's monologues and BLQ's recording sessions. Wally Kurth remains perfectly capable, charismatic, and more than willing to deliver. But when the writers treat Ned like a background prop rather than a patriarch, even the best actor can't save him from creative neglect. Ned once anchored General Hospital's corporate and family storylines, standing as the charming bridge between the Quartermaines' dysfunction and the business world's chaos. Now, he's barely a recurring mention in the house he's supposed to run. Tracy, Brooklyn, and Gio are constant fixtures, while Ned, whose presence should naturally orbit theirs, is reduced to an occasional footnote. It's a peculiar kind of amnesia for a show that never stops preaching about family. The easy answer floating around is to recast. The smarter one is to stop confusing absence with irrelevance. The problem isn't Wally Kurth, it's the refusal to give Ned a story worthy of him. His disappearance isn't a scheduling issue, it's a writing one. Give Kurth a script that actually matters, and odds are, he'd be back full-time before the next Days of Our Lives hiatus. Meanwhile, the Quartermaine men have been collectively ghosted. Between Ned, Scotty, and Kevin, the older male pillars of Port Charles have been quietly ushered into narrative retirement. It's ironic. These are the very characters who lend the show its history, continuity, and emotional gravity, and yet they're treated like relics to be dusted off once a year for nostalgia's sake. Fans don't need a new Ned. They need the old one back. Front and center, confident, complicated, and indispensable. A recast would only highlight how unnecessary the character's erasure has been. The writers managed to remember that Leo exists long enough to ship him off to school, so perhaps there's hope they'll recall Ned's existence too. If the writers insist on resurrecting Quartermaine family dynamics, the solution writes itself. Bring Dylan home from Hollywood, revive Lulu's storyline, and let Tracy spar with her offspring instead of the heir. But under no circumstance should Ned be recast. Wally Kurth is Ned Quartermain. Always has been. The problem isn't the actor's absence. It's the show's indifference. Until the writers fix that, recast or not, isn't the question. The real question is, how long can General Hospital pretend it still cares about the Quartermains while sidelining the man who once embodied their name? They said Nathan West's name change was to protect him. What they didn't say is how many lies it took to make that protection stick. In the tangled jungle of Port Charles lineage, the Westbourne West Obrecht Faison Reeves clan stands as a monument to narrative gymnastics. The question of why Britt Westbourne and Nathan West don't share a surname with either of their charmingly sinister parents isn't confusion. It's an Olympic-level writing exercise in hiding crimes, secrets, and accents that change with every decade. To untangle the mess, let's start at the supposed root. Liesl Obrecht. Once upon a melodramatic time, she was Liesl Westbourne, a name her family shared before scattering across Europe and the American legal system. Her sister Magda Westbourne had the good sense, or perhaps delusion, to Americanize the name into West, dropping the "sborn" like a bad accent when she reinvented herself as Madeline West. Naturally, Madeline later married and became Madeline Reeves, proving that in this family, identities are as temporary as their moral convictions. Enter the children. Liesl had two, Britt, who kept the original family name Westbourne, and Nathan, who got caught in one of soap opera's most beloved cliches, the protect the baby from the psychotic father shuffle. Fearing that Caesar Faison would turn her newborn son into a mini-me of evil, Liesl handed him off to her sister Madeline, who raised him under the far safer alias James Nathan West. The West came courtesy of Madeline's rebranding efforts, which successfully disguised the baby's true origins from the ever-looming Faison. Madeline, meanwhile, had a daughter of her own, Nina Reeves. Thus, Nathan and Nina grew up believing they were siblings, though in true Port Charles fashion, they were actually first cousins. It's the kind of mix-up that can only happen when your family tree looks like it's been pruned with a chainsaw. From there, things spiraled in the usual General Hospital way. Madeline tried to get her hands on Nina's inheritance by drugging her pregnant daughter into a 20-year coma. Nina's twins, because of course there were twins, were separated at birth and reappeared decades later as two entirely different women who didn't know they were related. By comparison, a surname discrepancy almost feels like light housekeeping. When Nathan eventually arrived in Port Charles, he went by Detective Nathan West, maintaining the West alias as part of his cover, and conveniently, as a way to hide his true family ties while investigating Nina's husband, Silas Clay. That investigation, predictably, went off the rails when it turned out Madeline had framed Silas, setting her own son on a wild goose chase that ended with both Liesl and Madeline behind bars, and Nathan finally learning that his life had been a decades-long exercise in misplaced loyalty. As for Britt, she simply kept the original family name, a subtle reminder that even in soap operas, the daughter is often left to deal with the fallout while the men get rewritten for dramatic reveals. Liesl's decision to keep Britt close while giving away Nathan remains one of the show's more glaring inconsistencies, but perhaps it's easier to justify maternal neglect when you're running a criminal empire from a Swiss lab. Drew proves that the enemy of his enemy is his friend. It's nothing new for Tracy to have enemies in Port Charles, and after the October 23, 2025 episode of General Hospital, two may be teaming up to take her down. Tracy's final feud with Ronnie ended with the new Quartermain homeowner kicking her out of her own family's house. This led to Tracy spending the night on Lulu's couch and having every last Quartermain relic shipped there in boxes. Despite the emptier home, Ronnie seems to be enjoying her new digs, and finally met the Q-stable hand, Cody, who gave her a little insight into who Tracy truly is. At the same time, Brooke Lynn was at Lulu's trying to make things right with her granny, but Tracy refused to budge when it came to Ronnie. As if the Tracy versus Ronnie feud wasn't bad enough, it was when Martin let Ronnie's existence slip to Drew that things took a dark turn. Finally allowed to arrive at the Quartermains without being turned away, Drew showed up and decided to ask Ronnie what he could do for her in regards to Tracy, showing the beginning of what could be a dangerous duo. General Hospital spoilers for October 24th tease not only Drew's latest scheme, but also Michael's, who just offered to pay Jacinda to fall in love with him. Jacinda was already threatened by Drew, so odds are she'll refuse and want to get far away from the Quartermains. Do you think Ronnie will team up with Drew? Let us know in the comments section. Lulu may want to think twice before she goes after Michael. General Hospital's Lulu may lose an ally, and it is not someone you want as an enemy. Lulu and Carly's relationship will not survive if she goes after Michael. Carly and Lulu are cousins because Lulu's dad, Luke, and Carly's mom, Bobby, were brother and sister. Being family didn't stop the two women from having issues. In fact, they practically hated each other at one point. Years ago, Carly was the one who paid Brooke Lynn to seduce Dante. She blamed Dante for Michael going to prison, so her revenge was to break his relationship with her cousin. When they found out the truth, the couple reconciled but were outraged with Carly. Lulu eventually forgave Carly, and the two became very close until Lulu fell into her coma. Lulu is alive and well and back to being a reporter. The biggest news in Port Charles is Drew's shooting and the identity of the shooter. Willow has been arrested and sent to Pentonville to await trial, but some believe she is not the culprit. It may have been her ex, Michael. Michael is Lulu's cousin, but that is not stopping the reporter from writing stories suggesting he is the shooter. Sonny and Lucas have already expressed concern, but she is not backing down. After overhearing Michael and Dante speaking about the murder, she is even more set on blaming her cousin. At the moment, Carly is in Switzerland, bad wig and all, to get revenge on Brennan for putting her daughter in danger. If she is going to such lengths to punish the man she was falling for, she will have no qualms in getting even with Lulu if she hurts Michael. She's done it before, and she will do it again. That's Carly. Lulu may want to think twice before going after her cousin Michael in the press. Chris McKenna is ready to see what Brennan has up his sleeve with Carly and Valentin coming for him on General Hospital. Chris McKenna never disappoints with his General Hospital commentary. As one of the more present actors on social media, his input resonates with viewers. This time, he's issuing a dare for the newly teamed-up Carly and Valentin after the most recent plot reveal to take down Jack Brennan. Chris McKenna's Jack Brennan is in trouble with his lady love and former friend. After Carly learned he recruited Joss for the WSB, she is beyond upset. GH decided to pair Carly with Valentin to team up and try to take Brennan down from the inside. She is the one person who makes him weak, and Valentin knows that is the way in. After the GH episode aired, McKenna took to social media with his hilarious response, even tagging his co-stars in his commentary. He mused, "Coming for Jack, huh?" While Brennan seems to think that the story about Vaughn is what has Carly upset, he has no idea that Jason alerted her to the truth. One thing about Carly is that if you mess with her kids, all bets are off. No one saw this storyline coming, especially after Carly nearly died because Valentin attempted to kill Brennan. However, that works in her favor because no one in Port Charles will have seen this team coming. It's different, but it could work if Carly continues exploiting Brennan's adoration for her. She went above and beyond by involving Spinelli, and when Jason finds out, he will have plenty to answer for. However, it did the job, and Carly could get into Steinmauer. Tracy's family has turned on her, and fans are not here for it. General Hospital has been on fire lately. However, Tracy being pushed out of her own family as they take Ronnie's side has become too much for fans to take. The tea party that Brooke Lynn had planned for Ronnie fell through when the latter ended up drunk. It took seconds for Ronnie to accuse Tracy of poisoning her. In a soapy twist, Brooke Lynn and Olivia took Ronnie's side. Even when Ronnie kicked Tracy out of the house, neither of them stood up for her. Not only that, but Olivia told Tracy she wasn't welcome at the Metro Court, which honestly was a bit much. Later, as Brooke Lynn and Ronnie recounted the events to Gio, he talked smack about Tracy and became Team Ronnie. The fact that her family is turning on Tracy is nothing new. It's that he's being pushed aside for a sister that Monica hadn't talked to in decades, and literally no one knew about that has fans up in arms. Social media has been abuzz with GH fans making it clear that they are Team Tracy forever and always. "Jane Elliott, I bow down to you. What they are doing to Tracy after all she's down for the Quartermains is a joke," declared a fan. One fan went all in on Olivia, saying, "I don't want you at the Metro Court. Literally has me furious. Who are you? How dare you? They never have her back, and Tracy would burn the world down for family. I hope when the truth is revealed and the house is Tracy's, she gives them 24 HHRs to vacate." Laura Wright teases why Carly's latest move could shake up Port Charles in a big way. On General Hospital, Carly has never exactly been one to play it safe, and this week she proved it again. After learning that Brennan has been lying to her for months and pulled her daughter Jocelyn into the WSB, Carly decided to take matters into her own hands. She disguised herself as attorney Barbara Saunders, marched straight into Steinmauer prison, and made Valentine an offer to work together to take Jack down. It's a move no one saw coming, but according to Laura Wright, that's exactly what makes it delicious. Wright spoke with Soap Opera Digest about the unexpected storyline turn, and she couldn't hide how much fun she's having. She and James Patrick Stewart go way back to their early soap days, and this new on-screen pairing has been a long time coming. "I was excited," she said. "I love the idea of working with James. I love him. He's funny and hilarious and great to work with, so I just love it." She explained that what makes the story pop is the sheer unlikelihood of these two teaming up. Just months ago, Valentine's attempt to kill Jack ended with Carly nearly dying of polonium poisoning. "No one would ever expect these two to be in cahoots together," Wright explained. "It's exactly the kind of twist that shakes up Port Charles in the best way." And yes, the show hasn't forgotten that explosive moment. Wright laughed about how those messy layers will play out in their upcoming scenes. There's a charge between Carly and Valentine now. Not romantic, but full of danger and uneasy trust. And that's what makes this storyline so fun to watch. If anyone's going to bluff their way into a maximum security prison, it's Carly. Wright noted that Carly bypassing the proper channels to get in is par for the course for her. If she wants to do it, she's going to figure out a way to do it, and this is the only way Carly knows how to do it, she said. Wright also noted that no one is aware that Carly is dipping her toes into a strange new world. The spy game is way bigger than the usual Port Charles scheming, and she's stepping into dangerous territory. Valentine even warned her that if Jack finds out, he could make her disappear. For now, Carly's keeping her plans from Jason. Wright reasoned that if Carly tells him, he'd shut it down immediately, and Carly's not about to let anyone derail her mission. She may be in over her head, but when has that ever stopped Carly? General Hospital spoilers are in for Friday, October 24th, 2025. In the next episode, fans can expect Jacinda Breckel to get fierce with Michael Corinthos. Lulu Spencer tries to get Nathan West to open up. Plus, Lois Cerullo has a new opportunity. Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the ABC soap opera. Let's start off with Jason Morgan. In a preview clip for the next episode, Carly Spencer and Britt Westbourne sit in a steam room. The blonde tells her enemy, "Why don't you do something that justifies his faith?" Of course, the brunette just rolls her eyes at Carly's suggestion. Later, Jason offers support to Demain Spinelli. Over with Lulu, she tries to get Nathan to open up. The last 7 years are allegedly a mystery. However, Jack Bernan has already confronted Nathan, but didn't get any information. Then, Lulu tells Nathan that she might understand better than he thinks. After all, Lulu was gone for several years as well. General Hospital spoilers for Friday, October 24th, reveal that Michael will escalate his plan. It seems Michael wants Willow Tate out of his children's lives forever. While Willow did stalk Sasha Gilmore Corbin, did she actually shoot Drew Kane? Willow is convinced that Michael is setting her up to take the fall. However, Alexis Davis is a really great attorney despite her personal feelings about the situation. Fans will also see Jacinda stand up to Michael. The blonde tells him, "Why don't you find yourself another alibi?" "Yeah, go Jacinda!" Plus, Drew finds a potential ally. It seems that Drew is going to try to make a deal with Veronica Ronnie Bard. However, she might not be as clueless as Drew thinks. It usually takes a con artist to take another con artist down. Also, Brooke Lynn Quartermain gets bittersweet news. This is probably about Giovanni Gio Palmieri. The young man isn't so angry anymore, but also doesn't want to get to know his birth parents. While this will make BLQ sad, it could also mean she can go ahead and move ahead with her family plans. Which storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most on Friday, October 24th, 2025? General Hospital spoilers hint that Carly Spencer has a hankering for revenge against Jack Brennan, and she's turning to Valentine Cassadine for help. Still, will these two become scheming partners and end up with a romance too? As Jason Morgan spilled the beans about Brennan recruiting Carly's daughter, Jocelyn Jax, as a WSB agent, placing her directly in the line of fire for danger, the mama bear is irate. Although Carly can't confront Brennan right now in order to keep Jocelyn safe, she's going to take an alternate route to unleash some vengeance. Carjack's days are numbered, as it is only a matter of time before Carly dumps the WSB head, which would make her a single Pringle. She's already in that mindset, so could she lean on Valentine? Sure, Valentine's in Steinmauer now, but a lifelong prison stint is something that could be waived at a drop of a hat when it comes to the world of soaps. Valentine is far more intriguing when he's a free man, so there's always a way that GH writers can craft a storyline where all his WSB charges are dropped, and Valentine heads back to Port Charles. If this were the case, could he and Carly become more than just allies? The ABC soap has never explored the possibility of Carly and Valentine, which could be intriguing on so many different levels. In fact, the interesting thing about all this is that for once, Carly would be dipping into one of Nina Reeves' exes instead of the other way around. Nina is not only close with Valentine, but also Charlotte Cassadine. So Carly entering a romance with Valentine would cause a ton of drama. Add in the fact that Carly's ex, Sonny Corinthos, has never been fond of Valentine, and that could also add in a sprinkle of chaos. Do you think Carly and Valentine would make an interesting couple? Comment below. Tune into the ABC Soap Daily for all the drama, and visit this site for all the best General Hospital updates, news, and spoilers. General Hospital spoilers suggest that Jason Morgan might be the one to expose Veronica Ronnie Bard. While Jason seemed to approve of Ronnie when she saved the day for the Quartermain family and blocked the PCPD from searching the home the first time around in Drew Kane's shooter's case, Jason still seemed skeptical of Monica Quartermain's long-lost sister. Will he be the one to expose Ronnie? General Hospital spoilers remind fans that Jason isn't one to easily trust anyone. While he seemed to be okay with Ronnie, and year to inheriting the house, this doesn't mean that he might not be working in the background, digging up information on the woman. After all, Jason does have more important things on the go. On top of being a single dad to Danny Morgan, he's got his henchman job with Sonny Corinthos. However, he's also working to protect the women in his life, mainly Carly Spencer, Jocelyn Jax, and Britt Westbourne. He could be quietly looking into Ronnie's past, without anyone knowing, or he could be preoccupied with life. Then again, as Jason has his plate full, Tracy may need to be the one to reach out. While everyone knows that Tracy does have a scheming side and doesn't trust easily, the idea of Monica giving the house to Ronnie would trigger her toxic side. Jason has also seen a softer side to his aunt. He also knows she does have good intentions when it comes to protecting the Quartermain family. In addition, if Tracy tells him about how Monica never talked about Ronnie, how she feels uneasy about this situation, and that she didn't place that Mickey in Ronnie's tea, Jason's suspicions motivate him to look into Ronnie's past. While Lulu Spencer did do some initial digging, she isn't exactly on the same level as Jason, nor does she have the same resources. Will Jason find something odd when he goes looking into Ronnie's past? General Hospital spoilers tease Carly Spencer stared her beau, Jack Brennan, in the face today and lied to him. It looks like he taught her the game rather well. Jack knew something wasn't right with Carly right away, but the relief that appeared across his face when she told him they were okay made it clear that even a WSB scion like himself could be duped under the right circumstances. Carly is furious with him for recruiting her daughter, Jocelyn Joss Jax, into the WSB behind her back. She gave him an out today, and he didn't take it. Was that Carly forgiving more than she should? Or is she laying tracks to ruin the man who broke her heart? The latter sure sounds more like the Carly we've come to know so well over the years. Carly and Jack are staring down the end of their relationship, and it won't be a happy one. We just can't fathom that Carly actually plans to continue her relationship with this man, because she wants to. She'll have to betray herself moving forward to stay in an artificial relationship with him, pretending to be in love when she wants nothing more than to ruin his life. Once-ailing her new knowledge on Joss's line of work under her boyfriend is going to be tricky. Jack is no rookie. He knows how to read Carly like a book, and he could start to suspect that she's onto him. Will that give him a leg in as Carly potentially schemes to pay him back for breaking her heart? Jack doesn't know it yet, but Carly could be planning his demise in a way that could put her back on the map as unstable and unlucky in love. She has quite the reputation as one of the most vindictive and ballsy women in Port Charles. No man should be so stupid as to target Carly's kids. Such a bold move instantly made Jack out to be enemy number one. Now Carly is probably plotting her revenge game, and we can expect she won't hold back. Will she go after Jack's career? The only thing he really seems to care about? Probably. I mean, what else would she take from the guy? He's got nothing but his title and his girlfriend, and not for long. If there's one thing we know about Carly, it's that she never stays down for long. We've seen her love hard and lose harder. From the deaths of her son, Morgan Corinthos, and her mother, Bobby Spencer, to that one time she temporarily became a widow when she thought Sonny Corinthos was dead, and even the time she lost her hotel to the woman she lost her husband to, Nina Reeves. She has always bounced back. This time won't be any different, but the fallout first could play out like the long way down. Will Carly sink to new lows to let Jack have it? Keep checking back with us for more GH news and spoilers to see how this plays out. The soap legend wasn't cut out for retirement. General Hospital fan favorite Jane Elliott retired from the ABC soap, only to return a few years later. Tracy is back, and better than ever. With Elliott firing on all cylinders, after a break she thought she needed, when Tracy was reunited with Luke, it was the perfect way to send the legacy character off into the sunset. After 5 decades working as an actress in Hollywood, and 4 decades of that on GH, Elliott opted to retire in 2017. 2 years later, though, Elliott slipped back into playing Tracy like no time had passed. Tracy returned to Port Charles for a few brief stints before Elliott decided to come back to GH full-time in 2021. It turns out that retirement wasn't all that it's cracked up to be. Elliott shed more light on why she would rather be working at GH than living the retirement life in a recent interview with Woman's World. Elliott thought she needed a break from the ABC soap. She was 70 years old at the time, her children were grown, and she was financially secure, so the timing felt right. I thought, oh yay, I don't need this job anymore, I can retire, the soap icon expressed. It wasn't what I thought it would be. I was like, but wait, I really like that job, and whether I need the money or not, I want to keep doing it. GH was thrilled to have Elliott back in the mix, but she considers herself lucky that the powers that be didn't cast another actress in the role, as if that would ever happen. There will forever be only one Tracy Angelica Quartermain. Elliott knows other actresses out there could bring a new element to Tracy. She's not wrong, but GH fans want their Tracy just as she is, especially now that she is the Quartermain matriarch following Monica's death. The soap star's most recent GH return has given her a chance to bond with some of the younger cast. Giovanni Mazza recently revealed how Elliott helped him improve his performances. At the Daytime Emmys, Elliott had a special moment on stage with Tabyana Ali, which showcased their closeness and stole the show. The retirement experiment taught Elliott that she's a worker bee, which means that even at 78 years old, she has no plans for another Tracy hiatus, and we are grateful for that. Both women were quick to stick their noses where they didn't belong. The love triangle of Curtis, Portia, and Jordan has been in the mix for quite some time on General Hospital. Things are coming to a head, and both Jordan and Trina were out of line this week. Who do you think should mind their own business? Jordan has every right to dislike Portia. Whether she admits it or not, Portia stepped right in as soon as she saw that Curtis was having problems in his marriage. Now she is upset that Jordan is doing the same thing to her. The GH chief of staff is keeping a secret. She is pregnant, and she doesn't know if the father is her husband or Isaiah. Jordan was zeroed in on Curtis' wife during the Quartermaine tea and noticed Portia's nausea and other signs of pregnancy. Instead of keeping her suspicions to herself, she confronted her adversary at the queues, which was inappropriate. Portia, of course, denied it. Instead of leaving it alone, the former deputy mayor gossiped to her best friend and chief of police, Anna, right in the middle of the brown dog. Now she wants to report her findings right back to Curtis, which will only cause problems because he may not be the father. Jordan may want to take a step back from this situation. Guess who also happened to be at the brown dog? Trina was there and spotted Jordan across the bar. Curtis and Portia had already broken the divorce news to their daughter, but she is still hoping for a reconciliation. No child wants their parents to get divorced, but this marriage is only a few years old, and Trina had no idea that Curtis was her father until recently. Trina felt the need to get up and ask Jordan not to hang around her father anymore, in the hopes that this would bring her parents together. It felt odd that she had no qualms about inserting herself into the scenario. Jordan was taken aback. Curtis may be Trina's dad, but this situation is clearly not her business, as it involves things that she doesn't even know about. Instead of worrying about this love triangle, she should look for Taggart, the man who raised her. He disappeared into thin air, and she never questions it.